Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter. And today I just wanted to play in my grid journal. It's just one of those days when I'm not really feeling it, but I want to do something. And when I looked around my studio, my grid journal was the one thing that caught my eye. I maybe go, oh, I'd like to do something in that. So I pulled out my grid journal. I've marked out 3¼ inch squares. I have a template made for it, and then I went in and I've used low tack tape just to tape it off, and then erased as much of the pencil line as I could. It'll either erase off afterwards, or I usually put a line around things anyway, so I'm not overly bothered. And I pulled out my two little travel watercolour sets. These are the ones when I go away. Pretty much with everything in here, I can make anything I want. There's a couple of colours I'm not overly fond of, like I'm not really sure I like that pink there, and sometimes this blue is a bit too much like the other blues, but I can't get them all into one palette, and I like this size. And I do have other palettes, but these are the ones I want to use today. So I'm just going to pull my swatches out. So I'm thinking of doing sort of an earthy, sort of naturey type watercolour background that once it's done, I might do mark making on the top of. I might stick something to it, like I might put book page. I might put postage stamps. I don't know. I'm going to feel my way through this one. The colours that are sort of pulling at me are these sort of three here, and probably one of those greens there. So I'm just going to wet my water palette, just because it needs wetting. And I'm going to get it quite wet because I've got a lot of blocks to cover here. Now, this is an art journal I made myself. It's just mixed media paper. It's not meant to be watercolour paper, but I've had a modicum of success with it as a watercolour book. I'm just getting water on the paper so that things will move when I put the colour into them. As I said, I'm just going to work quite fast and free, to be honest, and I'm not in the mood to be overly analytical of everything I'm doing, which is probably a good thing, to be honest with you. Some of the top, because I tend to be working from the bottom upwards. So it's a weird day here in Wales today. It's warm, but it's cloudy, and it's humid, but it's hot. It's a very, very peculiar. It's just peculiar. Let's just leave it at peculiar, shall we? Right, I may have to put more on as I go along, because obviously I can only work at one speed. So I'm just going to come in, and I just want to introduce a colour to each of these in sort of a different area and maybe in a different shape. So as you may or may not know, watercolours dry lighter. Normally they dry lighter. I mean, I can't say that's true for every single brand because I've never used every single brand. So, but on the general, I've noted that to be the case. And when I go away, which I try to go on a vacation once a year if I can get the time away from the desk, and I sort of, watercolour is one of those things that travels really well, because when it's wet, it moves, but when it's not wet, it's dry. It's basically stays where it's put, which is lovely about it. Like I'm not worried if I'm on a plane or something, and I'm not worried that whatever I've got in my suitcase is exploding because of air pressure or something. So I think that's a little bit of that on the go. Now, as that's on there, over to this side, by the way, I've got 2 jars of water, one for clean, one for dirty. I'm just going to move this around a little bit, just while I've got a bit of dampness on my brush. Break up some of those harsh edges. Now, anyone watching, no, I am not an expert in watercolour. I've been kind of paddling in the watercolour pool, should we say it, for about 1.5 years now, because it fascinates me, but I'm not very good at getting delicate, should we say. What I tend to do is I tend to overwork things, or I add too much colour onto them. Right, I'm just going to spritz these because I want to drop some other colour into here. It's just a travel bottle of water. So I'm going to come in. Where's that green I liked? Right, this is almost, this colour is almost like a green gold. And I just fancy putting a bit here and there. Just to catch the eye, just to move something around. Yeah, it's the end of the month, it's May, it's the end of May. I can't believe that we're already heading into June. I mean, good grief, don't even ask me where this year goes. I probably say that every year, don't I? I don't know where the year goes. And I don't know where the year goes. It just flies by. I seem to turn my head nowadays and I'm like, is it 5 o'clock already? What happened to the day? So I'm just going to come in again with a bit of a wet brush and move it around. Try not to be formalized in this, and that I can be incredibly structured in the way I create because that's my nature. And it's something I struggle with, and having the opportunity to just play with paint is becoming something I'm really enjoying. Like I've started a couple of new, what are they? What are those things, Griffiths? A couple of new art journals, like a needy new art journal, like a hole in the head. I'm just going to lift some of this off just because. And I'm tending to, I don't want to say I'm theming my art journals, I'm not, but I'm finding that my organizational brain is working in different ways in each of them. Right, I'm quite happy with how light that is. Now, if it bleeds underneath, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Right, now I've got the green, I've got that. I wanted to put something, what was that other colour? It was sort of an orangey colour, wasn't it? Right, let's just give these a spritz again. That's the only trouble with this mixed media paper. It just soaks up the water like crazy. Why aren't you spraying? Oh, you are now. Okay. Right, I want to come in with this colour here. I want to just a few splats or splatters, whatever you wish to call them. Splatters, all the same to me. I know splatters are not everyone's cup of tea, and I can understand that. But what I'm hoping, or what I'm planning, is because the backgrounds are wet, the splatters will actually move, like they will blend themselves in. I think I just want to come in with some dark brown. Right, now unfortunately we have to play the waiting game. So actually looking at that though, I've got a huge puddle of water there. I can lift some of the puddles out, let's put it that way. And it is only the water I'm pulling up, so there may be a little bit of colour with it, but I'm not overly bothered by it. Right, I am going to pause this video and let these dry. I'm going to go off and have a cup of coffee, to be honest with you. And then when I come back, you'll see how these will have changed colour, changed intensity, and hopefully some of those splotches will have merged into the background. So I will be back. And here I'm back again, and it's dry. It's dry enough to work on. Would I say it's thoroughly dry? No, but there's only so many cups of coffee I can have in a day. So what I want to do now as I've got my background in, I want to come in and I want to do some marks. Again with watercolour. We're going to be changing up as we go along. I might use acrylics in a moment or two, but currently I want to stick with watercolour. And what I want to do is come in and I'm going to use my flat brush And I'm going to do some very specific mark making, like purposeful, where I've been quite free-handed. I'm going to do some things that are more structured. I don't need something on every single square, so that's enough of the brown. I'd quite like to bring a little green into this. Now, how do I want to do the green? Because the background isn't wet, these splatters should stay as they are. Okay, so this is actually watercolour and this is a foam stamp. Now, I don't normally use a foam stamp with watercolour, not in this context anyway, but what I want to do is I want to introduce some orange. So what sort of orange do I want? Actually, let's make up an orange. Actually, funnily enough, there's already orange there, right? I don't want this particular orange because as you can see, it's very, very bright. But I reckon if I use this as my base and bring in a bit of this sand sort of colour, it's probably ochre. I always get that paint wrong. Right, that looks as if it's going in the right direction. Now my aim is, let's move that out of the way, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pat this into the back of my foam stamp. This foam stamp's actually designed by me. It's the small bubble wrap foam stamp that I designed for PM Artist Studio. So I'm going to come in, stamp it down, and that'll give me that it's structured, but it's not as structured as it could be. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I just want little bits of interest across here. And then we'll come in a little bit with some, I can't speak, isn't it terrible? I'll come in a moment with some water, acrylic paint. I think there's one more little bit. There's nothing over here has got it on currently. I don't mind a little bit there if it comes off, and a little bit there. Right. So I think I'm going to call the watercolor section of this now done. So first things first, I pulled in a little gel press. I use that a lot, to be honest with you. And I'm going to bring in some, this is buttermilk. It's just an acrylic craft paint. And I don't need a huge amount of it. I just want a touch of it because I'm going to do a technique that I like doing. You can use any paper. This just happens to be freezer paper because it was the first one I could get hold of. I'm going to braid that out a bit. And I'm going to pick up the paint on the paper. And then I'm going to come into certain areas and just press it down. And it'll add a different look. And I like that look. But it's subtle enough that it's not overpowering. And it's, as you've seen me do many times with different mediums, I like layers. I like to push things into the background. And it does just add a bit of something. And it's subtle. And because you're using paper to do it, you're leaving a reasonably thin layer down. But sometimes it will actually leave a texture behind it, like almost like a puckering texture. A little bit on this one. And I think this one needs something. As I said, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here, guys. I'm just doing what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I did also pick a couple of rose leaves from my garden. So I had 3 of them, and I did that, and I've chopped off the leaves I don't want because I want to use these to mark make on here. Because remember, I'm trying to do sort of a nature themed thing. Now I'm probably going to run into the thing that my gel plate is too small for the leaves I'm putting on there. That doesn't bother me, guys, because I just want to pick up bits. Now I have this random sort of, it's almost like an army olive sort of colour. It's a weird colour. So I'm just going to come in, I'm going to put down a reasonable amount of that, and I'm going to take my leaf, I'm going to use the back, I'm going to put that on the leaf, on the plate, and then I'm going to press down with a bit of spare paper. And all that's doing is just giving me enough to leave the paint on there. I'm going to lay it down. Now, once it's down, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to get another piece of paper and just press. And that will give me that. So I quite like that. I think we're going to do that again. I could probably have got a second print out of that, but I'm okay with doing this. These bits I'm building up will just become something eventually anyway. I quite like that to go off the side of the page. Oops, don't move it, Griffiths. Right, this is just newspaper, off-cut paper that I'm using here. There you go, and that gives me something there. Do I want it somewhere else? No, I don't. Right, I could keep these, but I'm not going to because I don't know when I'm last using it. And to be honest with you, I have a garden full of roses at the moment, so I'm quite happy about that. Now, with this bigger one, I'm going to have to do it in a couple of batches. So I'm going to press down, move it around, press down, and then find out where I want this. I think there, actually. And again, come in, direct pressure down. It will leave a mark or it won't leave a mark. There's no controlling stuff like this. The seed, that's absolutely beautiful. I'm loving that. Let's see if I do that again. Right. Come in from there. I like the fact that these are heavier than those are lighter. Right, this is going to one side. Now I think I want to bring in a different sort of green that's got a bit more yellowiness to it. So what's this? Pale olive green. Right, if I add that green to this green, or it would if it would come out. There you go. So again, just give it a bit of a brayer out. I don't mind if it's mixed in its colours. Now I'm going to try and come in and do a couple of pulls on this one. And again, it doesn't matter to me that it's a perfect leaf. If I could pick it up, it would matter though. Is that 1 or 2 sheets? That feels like 2 sheets. It is 2 sheets, there you go. And lift that up. Okay, am I all right with that? Right, as there's not that much on the plate, I can do this with my fingers. See if I just get those 2 leaves on there. That's lovely. I wonder, let me just snip off these other leaves, so I've just got the one in the middle. The reason I'm saying that is I've got a feeling if I can pick up the detail on the back of this with the lighter color, I could, even though it's not the same rose leaf, I could basically imprint some paler pieces on there, and I can. So that's a two-tone piece. Now, before I get rid of this, is anything else lacking? I think that could do with a touch more of something. I think that's okay. Right. So I've got this, and it's obviously from Starbucks, and it's just one of their coffee holder thingies. I'm going to come in, just put a few odd lines here and there. Yeah, that will go okay on there. Just building up, building up, building up, as I always do. Right. So just when I was drying that off, I realized I've lost some of the patches of the white that I wanted in there. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to put the white back in. So I'm just using white acrylic paint. And I'm going to use the same method that I did with the cream color. I'm just going to pick it up with a bit of paper. I think I'll not paper this is. It's just paper, let's put it that way. And I want to come in and add areas of white, because I want the white to be the contrast background for anything I stamp over the top or put over the top or make on the top. Just lightening up. This is where I fail with, not fail, this is where I'm yet to learn with watercolor, is about leaving white space. I'm so used to doing acrylics that when it comes to leaving white space on a project, I just tend not to leave it. I tend to keep going, and I know I should leave it. I know I should leave a bit of space there. Quite like the way that happened, actually. And repeat that over here. Need a bit more on there. I quite like the way it just bled slightly over the side of that leaf. That was okay. And we're almost at the point, I think, where I need to make a decision about when I'm taking the tape off, because I don't want to stick the pieces over the top, which I'm going to stick, like maybe a postage stamp or a stamped piece or things like that. I don't want to do that when I've still got the tape on. And the reason for that is because I'll probably stick it over the edge of the tape. I think I want to put some black splatters into this. I want to be a little careful because I don't want to be overpowering with the black splatters. That's enough of that. So my gut is now telling me to get this dry so I don't smear the black, and then take the tape off. So bear with me. I'm going to get this hair dried, and then I will bring you back, and then we'll do the tape reveal thing, because I know everyone likes watching that. Back in 2. So here we are. I think the black dots are dry enough for me to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the sound or the volume down, because I don't need you bothered by a hairdryer. It'll be in the background, but it'll be really, really quiet. I'm also going to speed the video up, because it's not going to take me long, but you don't need to sit there and see me peeling tape. It's a bit like peeling paint, really. So bear with me. As soon as I've turned this off, I'll put the volume back up. So don't worry, you've not gone deaf. There you go, and that's done. I didn't get as much bleed through as I thought I was. Now, I have options with the bleed through, just in case you're new to this sort of thing. The options are I could just leave them. I could come in with white paint and paint over them. I'm going to leave them because I don't mind. Also, depends on whether you put a border around your create, about your grid or not is another thing. Like I very often will go around the outside edge with, say, a fine black marker. I don't mind some of that stuff. Now, there are slight pencil marks here, just just where I didn't catch them the first time round. I only used a soft pencil to do them, so I know that they're going to lift off, so they'll be nice and pristine like that. I'm not going to worry about doing that with you here because I may be covering them up anyway. So there you go. So that's already given me something I'm far happier with as far as a background look. Now I want to come in, as I said, I wanted to add things like maybe book page or leaning more into my collage type stuff. So I've just pulled out my drawer of bits. This is all the patterned bits, and in here I'll have things like text. There'll be actually I need probably music at some point. I want something with a bit of colour to it. What's this? It looks like it's a bit of a digital. Might have that. This is the drawer most people have. It's full of stuff. I might use that. I think that's a bit of Tim Holtz tissue. So as I said, I'm just going to pull things in, a bit of pattern. So let's make a start. Now I'm going to glue it down with glue stick. I have no problem with glue stick. It doesn't usually let me down. And at the end of the day, this journal is for me. And if something starts to lift up, I'll just stick it back down again. I've also got some magazine page here, and this glue stick is the one I prefer to use, and I'm just going to glue stick onto that surface, which is the magazine. So I'm going to come in. I quite like the idea of using a bit of sewing pattern, and I quite like to use it torn. I don't want to put it on that one, it's got lines on it already. And I don't want it to be that tall. Now I could use matte medium to stick these down with. I could use Mod Podge if I wish to as well, but I'm just going to use a glue stick. When it comes to pattern paper, you've got to be a little bit careful, however, at the end of the day it is only tissue. I'm going to stick that down by there. Okay, I like that. That's in the feel of what I was planning to do. I might put another piece of that somewhere. It's never an exact science, let's just put it that way. Never an exact science. I'll take that little bit off there, it should be fine. Yeah, I got into grid journaling a little while ago, to be honest. When I first started it, I wasn't enamored of it, should we say, but it kind of grew on me. And now it's one of those things when I'm in a bit of a creative slump, I tend to grab for glue booking. Not glue booking, I do glue book. I tend to gravitate towards this sort of practice, which is lovely. Right, so this is a bit old and battered. I think this is from a bit of a painty paper I made ages ago. Now I'm not going to ink any of the edges because I don't think that's necessary. Now, as I have said before, I am quite formulaic in the way that I make stuff, so don't be at all surprised if I don't do the same amount of pieces on each page, because that's just how my brain functions. having the pencil line still very faintly visible really does help with locating a straight edge for your work. Right, I quite like that bit there, but I'd like to get the big old scissors in. Just cut that little bit off there. I know it's only a little tiny bit, but sometimes those little tiny bits are all it really takes to change the look of something. So I've got some plain coffee dyed paper. That actually wouldn't be a problem either. I think I'd like another piece of that somewhere, but in a slightly different colour. Any scraps just go back into the drawer, and periodically I go through that drawer, and if there's stuff in there that is seriously hampering me, then it gets thrown out. There's always the stuff that drifts to the bottom of the drawer that you forget is in there. That's the stuff I normally get rid of. And I know some of you are probably cringing, oh, but Ceri, you could do clusters, you could do little accent, yeah, you can. But when you've got 5 ton of scraps, you're never going to get through them, trust me. Right, okay, I'm liking those. I'd like something a bit more punchy, to be honest. Okay, I've got this bit of Tim Holtz. Why is it brown? Oh, I obviously painted on the back of it, right. Let's take a little bit of this. That might go there quite nicely. Just cut that off a bit. Again, Tim Holtz tissue. I believe instead of buying on the roll, because mine is still on the roll, I believe you can buy in sheet form now, like sheets of paper. Get in there without smacking my head on there. The camera. Okay, I like it, that's a nice colour to introduce. Let's see if I've got another little bit that could give me some detail. Oh, now my fingers are beginning to get sticky, so of course everything's going to stick to me. I like numbers. I like to put numbers into stuff. And I think I'm going to try and cut this. There you go. Not perfect, but it's perfect enough. Now, of course, I could have come in and done stamping. I could have done any of that sort of stuff. I might even come in and do a bit of mark making with pens in a moment. We will see. I don't know yet. This one sort of feels a bit lost, but I think I'm okay with that. Right, I think now it's time to start digging into, I had this, didn't I? I wanted to use, I like that signature on there. Doesn't have to be a complete signature, but I think I can make it work. Right, I don't need the top bit on there. There's going to be a bit of a so-and-so to glue because it's such a small bit of tissue paper. I might end up with it stuck to my fingers instead of the piece. Oh, I shouldn't have doubted myself. I got that down quite nicely. So, right, it's enough with the scraps now, I think. Let's get this drawer sorted out. And then I'm going to bring in different things. We'll have a look at things like postage stamps and stuff like that. So, postage stamps. Combination of postage stamps. Some I've made, some I've bought, some I've found. Oh, that's interesting. That could actually be an element all on its own, couldn't it? I don't mind that. Caught my attention for a second. So, oh, now see, that's kind of the right colours and everything. So I'm going to pop that down there. And I think I want to put it right on that little corner there. Right, is there another one in here that sort of is calling to me? I don't want this to be all about postage stamps, but I wouldn't mind, say, 2 or 3 on here. That's kind of the similar colours. Let's put that one by there in case I don't find another one. Where do I get my postage stamps? I get them wherever I see them. Like, if I'm running low on postage stamps, sometimes I'll go on to eBay and look for an eBay auction where someone is actually selling off an old photograph album or something. I have been known to buy them from Etsy a few years ago. I no longer have an Etsy account, so I can't do that. Where else have I got them? Sometimes if you go to like I call them a car boot sale, but you might, I can't think what they're called in other countries. Basically where people are getting rid of their belongings. A bit like a rummage sale. Something like that. And you will often find stuff like that in there. The only thing that's putting me off is I'm not really sure I want to introduce pink into this. I don't mind that actually. Green is okay because we've got green in this. And I think by there is exactly, is that George Washington? I think that's George Washington. It's been a long time since I did American history in any sort of way. Right, so we're done with postage stamps. What can we look at next? Let's have a little bit of a look at birds. I'm not sure I'm going to have any birds that are small enough to go on here, to be honest. Everything is pretty... That's a bird! Very big. I don't know, some of these little ones might. Where's his legs, is my question. Maybe he had an accident while I was trimming him. Goose is not exactly what I'm thinking. Would you fit? Ooh, you would just fit, wouldn't you? And we might leave those out for a second because they may become part of something. That's kind of the right colours as well. I could do with that. And if you're going to fit, yes, all right, let's just leave those. We're going to put those on here. As I said, I'm trying to work quite quickly not because I'm worried about the length of the video. I can edit the video down, but I am... Sorry, I completely forgot to speak then, didn't I? I can edit the video down, but it's just that if I keep looking and looking and looking, I will never end up choosing anything. I know my nature by now. Right, this is appealing to me by there. I like that, and I like it slightly camouflaged because in nature they would be slightly camouflaged. Right. All right, there's already a bird there. I don't want to put a bird there. I wish I hadn't put that right down the middle, to be honest, but... Actually, I'm kind of being drawn to there, but... Actually, no, that will do nicely there. Now, these birds, just fussy cut from either a bird magazine or a bird book. I mean, I like all of us, wherever I see something that's going to work for my art form, I will grab it and take it with me. Now, I planted that one there, but is that actually where I want it? I'm going to be lazy and not cut that little piece out of there, so I'm unsure now. I'm not sure about that. I've had a change of heart. Let's see if I can find another one. I quite like something pointing the other way. I know he's got his head turned that way, but I find with bird pictures for some reason, oh, now that's nice. I can do with that. That's the one, and he fits. Don't know whether that's where he's going, but that fits. Right. I'm feeling it by there. And if you were to ask me why it felt right to put it there, I couldn't tell you. It just was the right place to put it. Right. I forgot I had these actually. I've been making little swatches just out of scraps. I saw Darcy Sanders do this, and she saw someone else do it. So I can't remember where it originated, but I really like the idea because I've got boxes of these scraps. So literally, I just came in and just put some paint down and drew around it and then stamped a little something with it. And I really like this. These, I should say. That's cute. Right, let's see if I've got a brown one. I can't see me using a pink one, but that little green one. Come here, little green one. I wouldn't mind you somewhere. You can go in by there. And I think one more. I can get one of the brown ones. And I'd quite like it to go that orientation. Oh, I can't go too close to that. Now, if I take that down to 4, that'll make it feel a little better for me. By there. Okay, so it's getting there. It's absolutely getting there. Right, we're obviously going to have a look at a butterfly or two. You can't not have a butterfly, can you? Let's take those out because I'm not going to be doing that sort of butterfly. Ooh, wonder whether I did a half one of those. I could do a half. I love that butterfly. And he happens to be the right colours. Might you saying that could... No, this feels right. Let's just chop that right down the middle. Right. And I'll quite liking the idea of putting it up there. Right. These are just a butterfly outline embossed onto a book page, and then I've just used ink and a blending tool to create the shading. I think there is a video on these actually. If you look in the description box, if I do have a video on them, which I'm thinking about it, I'm sure I do, then you'll see that in the description box. Right, I've lost half a butterfly. There you go, that half is staying there. Is there anything else in here that can be used? Is that too white? Actually, that would be a better colour. I think that'll do for butterflies. We don't need to overgild the lily with the butterflies, do we? And before I forget, I don't have antennae on butterflies because I draw them in. So I'm just going to come in, and this is a 0.3, I believe, 0.3. I use whichever one I've got to hand, to be honest with you. There you go, let's put those on there. So I'm just going to pull in some labels. As you know, I usually use Tracy Fox labels because I like Tracy Fox's labels. So I'm going to pull some of those in. These are a combination. I mean, literally, they're all mixed up now, so I can't actually tell you which is which. So I'm just going to come in and have a look and see if there's things that I think would work on here. And I think there are. I'm sort of getting to the point where I'm thinking I'm almost done. Not every square needs to have something in it, needs to have a focal point. It could be that I come in a minute and do some textural things. Like I could come in with a pen and outline the leaves, which is probably what I'm going to do anyway. If you are looking for Tracy Fox, it's Tracie Fox. And if you're on Etsy, her shop is Love Junk Journals. So yes, so that's where you'll be able to find her. I can't put a link in, as I said, because I don't have an Etsy account anymore. And any time I did have an Etsy account, I always had the devil's hardest job trying to create links to people's shops. So I was very unsuccessful in that. I will, however, put a link to her channel because in her description box, I'm sure you'll have all of the links to everything she does. Right. The circle doesn't feel right for some reason. Right, am I okay? This needs something. That's quite a large something. That's too big. That goes there. So the one thing I haven't put on here yet, and I'm a bit hesitant to, is flowers. Because the only flowers I think that would work on here that I've got are clear flowers. And that then adds a shiny element to this, and I'm not sure I want that. I mean, I've got a few that are washi tape ones, but if I use the washi tape ones, then I have to deal with the whiteness around the washi tape one. So I've got anything that will just be small enough to slot in. See, I'd much rather use the clear ones, to be honest, but I just don't like the shininess of stuff. Just take you off there. Now, I know you're probably going to think it's unnecessary, but I do glue my clear stickers because I have had them come adrift in the past. Right, I thought oh, that's quite a nice one. I don't mind that there, actually. Come on, don't let me down now. There you go. This feels like it needs something. I've got a book page rose there. That's kind of the right colour, isn't it? Let's leave that sit. We might come back to that. I'm leaning more to foliage, I really am. Well, see, that looks gorgeous there, right? That can go there. Come on, Mr. Sticker, there you go. So that could do with something. I'm in a bit of a problem here. This box is just too narrow for all of this lot. Oh, there's one of those. See, it's just not right. Oh, someone sent me that. I can't remember who sent me that. That's nice to find that. It says hope. Could all do with a little hope at the moment, couldn't we? That's not going on there for a start. That doesn't feel right there, but I want it to go there. That doesn't mean it's going to go there, though. I quite like it down there, but I've just spotted another one. Oh, my favourite. I love ferns. Actually, that's what's going to go there. I have ferns growing all the way through my garden. And funny enough, I've never bought a fern. What happens is when I buy garden compost, I always seem to have, once I plant something with that compost, I always end up with a fern growing in the same pot. So I just let it be, to be honest with you. Right, I think I'm going to put that there, and then I might just think that's as close to done as I'm going to get. I might just look at doing a little bit of pen work maybe, just to finish things off. There's that one gone. Let's fold that up. Yeah, I'm not fond of the shiny label. And I do know I could paint matte medium over the top and then they'd be no longer shiny. But it just seems like a lot of work for a grid journal spread. Right. Okay, kind of happy with that. Let's put the lid on the glue. Let's get things out of harm's way. I've got a couple of Posca pens here. Now, what size is this? This is PC-3M. You can read it yourself. So, just a bit of a shake to make sure it's... I was only using this yesterday, so I think we're going to be okay. I'll do the same down here. Let's add a little bit of drama to that. Now, what else do I want to do? I'd like to do some writing, but not my normal, hugely loopy, funky writing, just small. Just here and there. And ones that look like they need something like this. This definitely feels like it needs a signature or something. I'm not liking what I've just done with those, that's annoying. Okay, I don't think we're that far away. I think what I want to do is I want to pause the camera and draw the outlines of all of these, because I can't do it because I have to be above it to do it. I do wish I'd not done that. Can I redo them? You know what? It's a learning curve. If I don't like it, I can cover it up later. Or actually, I could cover it up now, couldn't I? So what I've decided to do is with this one and this one, because I'm not happy with them, and I know I'm not going to be happy with them, so you know what, I need to do something about it. So I'm just going to take some sticky notes and I'm going to mask off the edges of the squares. And I'm going to be working in white, so it's not overly upsetting, and I don't want to cover them up totally. I just want to push them into the background, because that's what's bothering me, is that they're so in your face at the moment. That's going to go to one side. You need to stick back on there. So I'm going to come in again with my gel plate, a bit of paper and some white acrylic paint. So let's just see if I can get this first time. I'll be quite happy. And come straight over the top of there. See, that feels better to me now. I can live with that. Right. So, as I said, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go around each of the squares with a marker, and it'll be this black Posca marker, the PC-1MR, and then we'll come back and see if there's anything that they do need. I don't think they do, but we'll see when we get there. Back in a second. So here we go, all finished. The outline always makes a difference in my opinion. And I've also signed and dated it because I always feel you should do. What I did do when you weren't here is I pulled the leaf back out of the trash or the bin, and I repressed it down with a bit of that green gold type colour, so that gave that a little detail, so it doesn't look as blocky, it doesn't look out of place now. So I'm happy with that. It was just I just needed to play with something, and I think that for me, one of the biggest cures for not feeling like doing something is just to do anything. And this turned out okay. I'm happy with this. I think I probably would have changed a few things up along the way, but minor things. I mean, I probably would have done a little more mark making in black in the background before I started on the foreground, but I'm happy with this, and I hope you are too. So, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.